Past the hour, welcome back to our breaking news coverage. Right now, crowds are gathered at the Vatican to mourn the passing of Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope. In his 12 years as the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis worked to make the church more inclusive. He also placed a distinct focus on major issues like poverty and migration. Nearly 13 years ago, I was there in Rome covering the conclave that elected Pope Francis. Then later, I followed him in his trips to the United States and to Mexico, where he gave a number of extraordinarily emotional masses. I remember the one in Ciudad Juarez being extraordinary in its level of emotion, and to see the thousands of people that were out, many of them literally on lying down, face down on the ground as they listened to Pope Francis. Really extraordinarily emotional moments for the Pope. Joining us now is Massimo Faggioli, professor of historical theology at Villanova University. Thank you, Massimo. You're the author of The Liminal Papacy of Pope Francis. I thank you for being with us this morning. I know you've covered the Vatican so closely for so many years. What are the things that you think stick out in your mind about Francis?
I would say two things. First, Pope Francis is the first pope of the third millennium. And with him, the Catholic Church is clearly no longer a European enterprise, clearly no longer a colonial enterprise. Catholicism is now much more made of African, Asian, Latin American Catholics, much more than European and North Americans. And the second is that under Pope Francis, we saw an unprecedented level of tensions, diplomatically worded, but tensions between the Vatican and the United States, because this is the age of Donald Trump. And between Pope Francis' pontificate and the rise and the two elections of Donald Trump, there's a perfect, almost perfect overlap chronologically. And this is really the biggest thing from the perspective of the Catholic Church as a global organization, which is very engaged on social issues, political issues, cultural issues.
How do you think, Massimo, the impact on dogma and just thought of the Catholic Church has changed? And I'm just thinking there is a contrast in many ways, a very real contrast between Francis and Benedict and John Paul II.
There's a contrast which starts with their biography, because Pope Francis was not an academic. Actually, he was a failed PhD candidate. And he saw the church basically as a field hospital, as he called it in 2019, where the field hospital is made much more of nurses and of people who stop the bleeding more than doctors and scientists. That's the image that he chose to describe the church, which means that dogma remains there, central to understand the intellectual DNA, doctrinal DNA, but cannot be used as an entry test to tell people you belong or you don't belong. This is where Pope Francis really was very clear, and that's where many people thought Pope Francis was a problem.
Vatican councils, one including the concept of a new Vatican Council, something that Francis thought a lot about. Do you think, Massimo, that he has made substantial change within the structure of the church that will be permanent?
Very few things are permanent in the structure of the Catholic Church. Clearly, he has relocated symbolically the person of the Pope, decentering him outside of the Vatican walls. And in other places, including the city of Rome, different places where he was more comfortable than the Vatican, he could have done something epoch-making on women. He chose not to. That was a missing opportunity. which is in the hands of the cardinals who will choose his successor.
Monsignor Fagioli, it is a pleasure to see you. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.